Well, if you will allow me to take you in the Wayback Machine, clear back to the year 2001. Some of you remember it, many of you will not remember it. I happen to remember it quite well. I believe it was a Tuesday. It was a lovely September morning, driving into work about 8 o'clock, somewhere in that area, and I realized, hey, I think I left the coffee pot on. Never want to do that at my house. Drove back to my house, and I'm listening to the radio at the time, and they were saying, hey, apparently some plane had crashed into one of the World Trade Center buildings. Could have been a small plane, whatever. So I'm going back in the house, sure, turn off the coffee maker, which, yes, I had left on. So I just turned on CNN because that was the news network I used to watch back in those days. I'm standing there watching the Twin Towers. And there's people saying, hey, an airplane had crashed into the towers and there was smoke coming out of one tower. And then suddenly I saw something, a plane, another plane, flying into and hitting the other World Trade Center tower. I watched it on TV live. On that date, September 11, 2001, 2,977 people lost their lives. And in that time thereafter, I didn't hear one person, one individual in the United States of America say, great, I'm glad they're all dead. I'm glad they're dead. They deserved it. I didn't hear one. And I remember back in 1963, because I'm old, Kennedy was assassinated. And I remember watching all that. And I didn't hear anybody on TV or anyone else saying, yeah, I'm glad Kennedy was assassinated. Well, except for the people that killed him. Turns out that was part of his administration. People who didn't want him to close down the Vietnam War. That was 63. Then his brother was assassinated. And didn't hear anybody saying, yeah, thank God another Kennedy was killed. Didn't hear any of that. Ronald Reagan was shot when he was in office, almost died. Didn't hear anybody saying, hey, I wish Reagan would have died. So those are things that I remember over my life, but nothing has caused me more concern than what I saw on September of 2025, watching Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I'd seen him all times more. Probably one of the greatest debaters I think I've ever seen. And he can talk to people. He would do this thing, go to college campuses, set up a tent. Hey, prove me wrong, argue with me. And people did. Students would come down, they get the microphone, they go back and forth. Charlie had a huge following of college kids. Really loved what he did because he talked about things that are being, well, the way they are. Talked about church, about life, about God, and other things that he was able to, well, frankly, beat anybody who tried to debate him. Best debater I've ever seen. Now, here's a kid that could have went to the U.S. Air Force Academy, but decided not to. I'm going to go out there and be out there, and he started Turning Point. Turning Point USA. Well, Turning Point becomes a place where conservative people went to talk. That's what it's about, talking with somebody. Because if you can't talk to someone, well, you can't survive, really, when you think about it. So he started Turning Point USA. But there I'm sitting watching this on TV, and suddenly, out of nowhere, I see a sight I think I don't want to see again. I don't want to ever visualize it again. Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck, carotid artery, right in the most important artery in your body, frankly. Killed him. You ain't going to live when you get shot like that. Turns out somebody was shooting a Mauser rifle with a scope mounted on about 200 yards away. Took him out. Turns out that gentleman was a 22-year-old person by the name of Tyler Robinson. His father was a former police officer, like 20-some years. But Tyler had gone bad. He went to the dark side, and I mean the dark side. He was a gamer, habitual gamer. And he followed the dark web, the deep web, the bad web. He was in there. He didn't live at home. He lived with a transgender lover, guy who was going from a guy to being a girl, and that was his lover. Believe me, I don't want to go there either. But that video I saw, that vision I saw, worst thing I've ever seen. And yet, following that, suddenly we get people out there doing something I've never seen before, not from 9/11, not from JFK, not from RFK, not from Ronald Reagan. Nobody. I've seen people out there going, yay! he deserved to be killed. I mean, when you talk about somebody, you say they deserve to be politically assassinated. When an American citizen and Americans are saying that person deserved to die, that person deserved what he got. I don't think I've heard that before. Did any of those people say that when Kennedy was assassinated? I don't think so. Any of those people say that? Well, there's all sorts of people that have been killed. Did anybody say anything about any of those things? Anybody say when Reagan was shot? Oh, I'm sure there were people who said when Reagan was shot, good, I'm glad. Because we've turned into tribes, America. Not good tribes, bad tribes. You know, the Indians fought each other, whether you know it or not, in America. They battled each other to the death. That's what Indian tribes did. And now we have Americans saying another American deserves to be executed. And that's what we're saying. And you wonder why people are getting upset about it? I don't wonder why. Now, for years and years and years, people, we've had a thing called the cancel culture, right? The cancel culture? We've all heard about it. Oh, you say something bad, think something bad, you are going to be canceled. Your life's going to be worth nothing. You are going to become a persona non grata. Canceled. Well, now suddenly when it's happening to other folks on the other side of the fence because they were saying, hey, I'm glad an American citizen was assassinated, murdered. You're glad someone was murdered? You lose your job? And now they're coming, hey, I lost my job. It's not right. What about the First Amendment, freedom of speech? Well, what about you canceling people? Were they not allowed their freedom of speech? Can't have it both ways. So there you go, folks. There's what bothers me. There's what I have seen. I go clear back to the Kennedy era. So yeah, I'm that old. But I've seen them all. And for the first time ever, I have seen Americans standing up and saying, I'm glad that person was assassinated. The only time I ever saw that was in 2001, and the people yelling, great Americans had died, were the people in the Middle East cheering that America had suffered a massive amount of deaths, 2,977, and they were happy about it. Well, eventually America went over and said, yeah, FAFO. You know what I'm talking about. So just so you understand, what I saw Friday, September the 10th, was in many ways worse than what I saw September 11th, 2001, because it led to something that is more ugly than anything I've ever seen in this country. People saying an American citizen deserved to be assassinated, murdered. When we reach that point, folks, we have become tribal. And tribes lead to bad things, and they call it war. It may not be now, but keep it going, folks. And then you could see one side against the other, man against man, brother against brother, friend against friend, over something that really is something that shouldn't be happening at all. We're all Americans. We're all in this together. But apparently, not anymore. That's where America's gone, folks. Be ready. It ain't going to be pretty.